Back on our social blog this morning, we take a look at folk games, kwa kwa, pilolo, ampe, owari, ludu, and the likes. Do these games ring a bell for you? These are a few of the indigenous games that relishes one's childhood, but where are they now? Catherine Fimpoma has been finding out.
Does this ring a bell? These are a few of the indigenous games that relish one's childhood. But where are they now? These were games highly cherished by generations. Today, these folk games seem to be fading out from the system. This, like all other folk games, required critical thinking, endurance, perseverance, and determination. But today, the world has changed over. Video games like Brick Game, Zuma, Temple Run, Candy Crush, and others have become the order of the day. As a traditional heritage, it was passed on from generation to generation. To some people, these games are outmoded.
No, everyone has forgotten about it. Everyone is now moving to the modern ones, the Spa online and football, FIFA. Those are the games that people really engage in.
There was this game, Pilolo, Charles Kelly, Ludo, and Alasa. Kind of archaic, and playing that game it'll just read the red flags, makes it look weird. You go on the floor, you just create a hole and then you play. No,
they're not really outmoded. We can do something about it. If whereby I heard of a program which they promote such programs, like they will invite people like married couple to come and play in a Efia Sunderland Park, such a kind of fun to promote it again.
Indigenous games cost nothing to play, but people now prefer modern games even at a fee.
I would pay if the interest is there. A game like football, yes. Soccer, PSP, I'll play with my friends. Yes, it's worth it.
Gone are the days when one could ignore food just to join in the fun. So are the recent technologically advanced games better than these folk games?
So we're talking about folk games, and my guest this morning is Mr. Samson Obed Appiah. He's a lecturer at the Department of Sociology at the University of Ghana, Legon. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Right. So do these the games we're just looking at, do they bring back some memories for you?
Very much. I could remember the good old days. Yeah, when these games were very good means of recreation, socialization, and I think that they were, as you started by saying, the society's way of passing on to the new generation the norms, the value, and the cultural dimensions. And I think that they were very instrumental in our socialization as young people when we were growing up.
Right. Yeah. Now, you mentioned that it was good for socialization and recreational purposes and all of that. But was there any educational aspect to it? Did we learn anything from some of these games?
Yes, very much. For instance, I remember the Owari, for example. The Owari looked at very carefully. Apart from the recreational aspect of it, it also taught us some aspect of arithmetic in terms of playing Owari. So, and also educationally, apart from the educational aspect we are talking about, you realize that it was a means of teaching the young ones the issue of physical alertness. because most of the games involved some exertion of energy. And also mentally you need to be alert. Yeah, so for me, apart from the education aspect of it, it was, and also it was our traditional way of teaching the young people our culture. Yeah, so we can see that yes, it had a lot of educational value, and that traditional African society, that is the way we transmitted our knowledge and cultural values to the young ones.
Which of the games can you say was teaching us about our culture? Can you recall any?
Yeah, for example, I remember there was one that we used to play where we hide things and ask people to go and look for it.
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek. Yeah,
that was Pilolo, right?
Pilolo, yeah. There was another one. You know, they go in a circle from. We put a cloth behind the person.
One person,
yeah,
and you have to.
Yeah. So most of those things were teaching the African value of being, alert anytime you do things. And also apart from that, the point is that as African, you see, and another point that most of these games were related to our environment as Africans. So and most of the time these games were played in the evening after 6 p.m. or whatever. And also Sean also looks at the fact that the environment played a very important point. Those were days that there were no electricity. Exactly. So we realized that these were very important ways of helping us to recreate ourselves and when doing that we learned a lot from most of those games. Yeah.
So where are these games now?
Yeah, that's a very big and very interesting question. And I personally think that from the sociological point of it teaches us how dynamic our society is. The fact that, as sociology would say, society is not static but dynamic. But the point also is that as society is changing, I feel that we cannot, delink ourselves from our past, because a society that does not know its past, it's totally lost. So the point is that due to technology and urbanization, realize that many of the young ones, even parents today, who have lost sight. So you see that generation have come who have, lost sight of these things. But I also want to say that if you go to most of the traditional areas,
exactly. I was just going to ask you that, because it seemed like most of these games were played in the rural areas.
Yes.
You went to your village and for holidays and things like that. But maybe because of rural-urban migration, people are just kind of moving away from these things. Maybe in some villages they're still. Yeah, they still. And
the other thing also is that society have always complained about this fact that it's as if we don't have, as a nation, any policy towards this, because I complain at times. Look at most of the recreational places in Accra, the Ifa Sutherland Children's Park. So realize today that unfortunately most of our youth and children rather prefer going to the shopping mall. That is, at times I go there and I complain that no, we should be careful, because, and you see, at times the Brie Gardens and the places that even in the urban areas, let's not go to the rural areas, even in Accra, for example.
A place like Ifa Sutherland Park, it's very dry now. What is there?
So that is why
people are not going there.
Yeah.
It's because there's no kind of recreational facilities.
Yes, so that is why I think that the Ministry of Tourism and Children Affairs and Co must come out with some program, because it's as if Accra has become only shopping mall. And that's why you see a lot of holidays. Go and see the children there. I feel that we are very good recreational places for the children. Shopping malls shouldn't
because it's not as if they are buying anything. Yes. They are not shopping. They're just hanging out of the mall.
Yeah, so everybody goes there to just go and have fun, look at people. So the point is that even in the right area they still play this game. I think that in the urban areas we can still bring some of these games to Ifa Sutherland Children's Park. I was watching a documentary the other day on the fact that even down there used to be these children back, and the whole place is now in a mess. I think that we can bring back these games because they were very educative and very, progressive in terms of helping the young people. We taught us to be alert, we taught us to be physically fit. So I feel that as a nation, we have a lot of things to do with some of these games.
But so do you think that the new games on the market are not as good?
I wouldn't say they are not as good, but there was a point your reporter made that most of these new games required you going to pay. And that is the difference. The traditional games,
you didn't have to spend any
money to play some of these games. But the modern games are not bad. But my problem is that when we seem to focus on the urban or modern games, we seem to be losing touch of our culture. And that is very important as Africans or Ghanaians that we shouldn't forget. Yes, the Zoomers and the Coast are over 3. My small girl at 4 years, some of the games she even plays on my mobile phone, I don't even know how to play them. But the point is that how can that girl is an African as the Ghanaian? we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that that small girl should be able to know the indigenous games that we also play.
But would you admit that those games are also very educational and impact or helps with the child's development?
Yes, I agree perfectly that those games are good, but the point also is that as a sociologist or someone who society, when we focus on those games, automatically we are promoting other people's culture. You see, for example, when you buy those games, what it means is that we are creating more jobs of employment for other people. What about own games? Imagine if we have a lot of this. I was telling someone the other day that when we were young as children, we used to do our own tie for killing the birds,
Okay, yes.
But now we are importing ties from China.
I see.
Go to the street, you see. So I asked myself, when we were young, we used to, do these ties and kill birds, maybe. But so you see, when we do that, personally, I think that yes, these modern games are good. Yes, but the point is that what about we as Ghanaians or Africans? So I believe yes, we can still promote those foreign games, but not to the neglect of our folk or the traditional games that we all grew up with and we knew about.
Is there any negative aspects to these folk games? Maybe the reason why maybe parents did not want their kids to indulge, or the reason why we are moving away from it. Is there any disadvantage?
I personally don't think there is any disadvantage. The problem is about modernization and urbanization, as we rightly said.
So all the games were good.
Some of them, people have issues about the moral. But this hide and seek, for example, I remember we were very young. As a friend was telling me yesterday, it was good for he used the word the bad boys, for example, will go and hide somewhere and do their own. Most of the time,
basically, you just hide and someone comes to find you.
No, but you see, at times, the other ones which we call the find your lover.
I see.
So those ones you go and hide with a girl or something. So those
you hide
ones,
with somebody.
yes, those ones were. But even the point, even on that, you see, I always say that those days, the level of consciousness was not there for people to indulge in those things so much as we have.
It was just all
fun. So I don't think that the problem is with the issue about urbanization and modernization, where we are so much aware now. Yes, we are so much. Concerned with the modern ones, where the children, most of them are this computerized now. So the child rather prefers to go to the laptop to go and play these games than and the parents are also part, because we also lose sight of the traditional games. We are not able to introduce our children or our people to some of these traditional or folk games.
You also made a good point about in the olden days there not being electricity, and that also contributing to the rise in all these folk games. Do you think that maybe with the advent of electricity, more people are more interested in games that's modern games? Because then in the evenings it was dark and there was not much to do. You couldn't watch television, you couldn't do anything, so your best bet was to go out with your friends and indulge in some of these games.
Yes, to some extent I will agree, but I see the point still is that even in the era of electricity, we could still package these games, for example, as I said, in the urban areas where the children's park or go. The point in the rural areas, because there was no electricity, yes, it was an avenue for recreation and go. But even today in the rural areas, people still, go to my village, to still see children playing this game, because now the point is that whether electricity or not, these things were means of recreation. Where, for example, in those days, how many people have television in their homes? So yes, still people are still playing this game. So yes, electricity and modernization have affected it. But my point is that as Africans, that gives us an identity. And as Nkrumah said, we needed to show the world that we are our own. But the problem is that when we promote the modern ones, we are trying to say that we have left our own and we rather prefer somebody's own.
But don't you think that children of today would feel that those games are a bit too archaic for them?
Yeah, that is, and the point is that if this something is archaic, that is why even in development or sociology we say that tradition and modernity are not, the tradition does not end for modernity to continue. There is an interplay between tradition and modernity. Yes, those things, I think there is a matter of repackaging them. You see, we can repackage them in a very nice way and make the children feel that yes, this is part of our identity as Africans. This is the way we socialize people to know the norms,
so kind of make
the
it
value,
a little bit more modern,
yeah.
Still keeping our traditional
that's the point,
aspects to
it. So we can modernize more on these games. Today I see the Owari, which is now being made very nice ways. On the traditional way that we also play now. Some people have now
maybe used to play it in holes on
in holes, yeah. So today people are able to do it in very nice ways. So I think that yes, we can as a nation repackage some of these things rather than just thinking that we can, because there's something that I've also observed that today. We see that a lot of these Chinese rather come in to take some of these things and go and do and bring back to us.
Exactly.
So my question is, why don't we ourselves do it here? Then allowing the Chinese or the Europeans to come and pick it up and go and repackage and come and sell to us and make money.
What do you think about the educational system, the schools as well? Couldn't they also help by reintroducing some of these games instead of the usual games that they do during PE and other recreational
games? I think that's a very good point. So I think this is why I think that the GES and the Ministry of Education can also come, even the schools themselves, so that we have a blend of, yes, we can still let the children play the toys, but how can we also ensure that our traditional value, we don't lose touch of it? So I think that yes, the ministry, the GES, they can also come and say, okay, let's have a way where we can allow the children to also play some of the traditional games as a means of socialization, etc.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning. This has been the Social Block, and we've been looking at the issue of folk games. They seem to be a thing of the past, but our sociologist here is advocating that we bring it back. And he is Mr. Samson Obed Appiah. He's a lecturer at the Department of Sociology at the University of Ghana, Legon. And this has been our Social Block.